1920s, Oklahoma, Osage County. Local Indians hold a funeral for a pipe and bury it in a grave. At the same moment, oil bursts out of the ground, gushing and delighting the people. Soon it turns out that there is a large oil field and many businessmen come here to establish oil companies. The Osage tribe becomes unimaginably rich because it is their land. As a result, none of the locals work, but still own a fortune. Ernest Burkhart, who worked as a cook in the war, returns to Osage County. The first thing he meets is his uncle William Hale, who works as a deputy sheriff. The old man runs the town and establishes his own rules, offering his nephew to look at the local girls who possess unspeakable wealth. At the same time, strange incidents occur in the neighborhood, during which several tribesmen pass away. Despite all the mystery of what is happening, no one investigates the reasons for it, believing that there is no crime in it. Since Ernest is weak and can't do anything, his uncle sends him to work as a cab driver. On his first day, he meets a girl named Molly Kyle and becomes her personal cabbie. A little later, his uncle suggests paying special attention to her because the girl is from the Osage tribe and is one of the richest residents of this county. Loving money, Ernest takes his uncle's advice and shows sympathy for Molly. Trying to understand the rules and customs of the locals, Ernest reads books and history about them. At night, he and his brother and another accomplice go out in search of adventure. The trio robs a married couple, after which they go to a casino to gamble for money and jewelry. Sometime later, Molly invites Ernest to her house. The girl's mother does not like him, but tries to ignore it. Molly melts from Ernest's compliments and advances and offers to have a drink. At the same time, he does not hide his passion for money, but the girl is not frightened by this because Ernest is sincere and real with her. As soon as it starts to rain outside the window, she asks him to be quiet to enjoy the silence and the sounds of the storm. During a church service, Ernest meets sisters Molly and Billy, the husband of one of them. Minnie is seriously ill as she has anemia, which makes the girl look pale and joyless. At a town party, the sisters discuss Ernest and assume that his feelings are real and have nothing to do with money, for his uncle is already rich. After taking her sister's opinion into consideration, Molly asks Ernest to give her a ride home. The couple kiss passionately, and the man proposes to the girl to become his wife. Soon Molly and Ernest get married and organize a lavish banquet on this occasion. William supports poor Minnie in every possible way, but she passes away because of a debilitating illness. During the funeral, Billy asks Ernest to leave the house, as he does not want him here. The uncle assumes that soon the whole family will leave this world, as the girl's mother is much more. Anna behaves very aggressively and threatens everyone with a revolver, and Molly is ill with diabetes. Sometime later, Lizzie sees an owl fly into the bedroom window and realizes that her hour has passed and she will soon leave this world. Loving only her eldest daughter, the old woman asks Molly to bring Anna to her. Soon the older sister shows up at a family dinner, but turns out to be too drunk to meet her mother. She pesters her brother Ernest, but Byron pushes her away, considering her insufficiently attractive and easily accessible. At the same time, he flirts with the maid, causing Anne to lose control and threaten everyone present with a revolver. At night, Byron and his accomplice take the life of one of the oil tycoons. A little later, he picks up Anna to give the girl a ride home. In the morning, it becomes known that Anna's body was found in a ravine, and a bullet fired from a revolver was found in her head. Molly is sure that someone committed a crime, but the investigation is convinced that the girl led with her life because of her impulsiveness. Against this background, the Osage tribe holds a meeting, during which they decide to involve a detective from the city in the investigation and send Barney McBride after him. William offers to increase the reward for any information about the criminal, as he wants the neighborhood to be in order. Billy, having lost his wife, marries her sister Rita. Molly, doubting the local police, hires a private investigator as she is surrounded by strange events and conspiracies, accompanied by the loss of loved ones. A little later, Barney receives a threatening telegram and as soon as he steps outside, is daringly attacked, resulting in the loss of his life. While the detective begins to investigate and learns that Anna was pregnant, Ernest meets Blackie, a man involved in grave robbing. He asks to get rid of Rita and Bill, and as payment offers his car, which the criminal can steal. At night, Blackie steals Ernest's car while he is making love to his wife. Since Molly is sick, the doctors order her insulin, a unique drug used by only 5 people in the entire United States. Blackie is caught stealing a car, and William decides to punish his nephew for his amateurishness. He beats Ernest and asks him to solve issues rather than create problems. Taking his uncle's advice, Ernest takes the life of a private investigator capable of finding the culprits. A little later, William and Ernest meet with an intermediary to find someone who can get rid of Rita and Bill. He suggests turning to a bomber named Asa Kirby, willing to do any dirty work. The doctors visit Molly to give her an injection, but she doesn't trust them and asks her husband to pick up the insulin and receive it in person at the train station. Meanwhile, William takes out life insurance on Henry's life for the amount he owes him. The sheriff's deputy asks the Indian to take care of his life, but the latter, learning of his wife's infidelity, beats her lover. A little later, William tells his nephew that Henry is Molly's first husband, as their marriage was arranged by the local tribe when they were teenagers. Soon, the girl's mother Lizzie passes away. Molly is increasingly confused by the fact that the people who were supposed to investigate the crimes have disappeared without a trace. At a family dinner, Ernest and Molly announce that they are expecting their 3rd child. William is shocked that his nephew is making love to his sick wife and asks to be more careful. Ernest, jealous of his wife of her first husband, hires John to take Henry's life, passing it all off as an attempt to settle a score. John agrees, but is afraid, so he drinks too much and shoots Henry from behind, causing everyone to realize it's a crime. Trying to find an extreme, William and Ernest provoke his wife's lover, Gunny, to flee the city, but he refuses, believing himself innocent. Soon Molly and Ernest have a 3rd child, whom they name after the girl's late mother. At one of the family dinners, Ernest and Billy quarrel, beginning an implicit confrontation over the inheritance of the 4 sisters' family. William goes to a horse race in another town to create an alibi for himself. Meanwhile, Ernest asks John to meet with Asa to pay for the explosion. At night, the couple goes to bed when suddenly the windows in their bedroom are blown out by a blast wave. Ernest goes outside and sees that Rita and Billy's house has been blown up. Asa had overdone it with dynamite, which caused the whole town to hear the explosion, but the result was worth it, as Sister Molly and her husband are no longer alive. Back home, Ernest informs the family hiding in the basement. Distressed by what has happened, Molly takes $300 and goes to Washington. Here she meets the President of the United States and asks for help in investigating the crimes that took the lives of more than 30 Indians. William and Ernest meet with doctors to pick up insulin. Ernest, despite his love for his wife, agrees to add poison to the medicine in an attempt to slowly reduce her to the grave. Molly takes the children away from home and hides, afraid of people, not realizing that her own husband is trying to get rid of her. She sees that her health is deteriorating, but Ernest continues to give her poisonous injections. Soon the family is visited by Tom White, an FBI agent who has come from Washington to investigate the ongoing crimes and so-called accidents. Ernest begins to panic and meets with his uncle to tell him what has happened. William asks his nephew not to be nervous as he has everything under control, and the investigation has no evidence to prove their guilt. The next morning, William tries to get insurance for the deceased Henry, but is denied payment. FBI agents take the investigation seriously and interrogate the doctors, after which they visit William. The man behaves calmly and confidently, but in fact he realizes that he could be sent to jail. Trying to get rid of the participants of the scam, he meets Blackie and offers him to rob a bank. At dawn, the police stop the criminals, taking the lives of some of them. Blackie manages to survive, but is sentenced to life in prison. A few days later, William sponsors the opening of a dance studio for children and warns the owner that he may be robbed at night. A little later, he suggests to Asa that he rob the studio and flee the city, but the owner of the building meets him with a shotgun blast, resulting in the bomber losing his life. The next morning, the police arrive at Henry's farm, but it turns out that he, too, has lost his life after failing to control his car and crashing into a tree. Byron and William offer Ernest to sign his inheritance papers, whereby he will give all the property to his uncle in case something happens to him. Ernest learns that he could be arrested, but William promises the best lawyers in case he signs the papers. At night, the investigators gather near William's house to discuss the information they have accumulated. In the course of their investigation, they come upon an old man who saw Anna in the company of Byron and his friend Kelsey. William continues to destroy evidence, but the agents manage to arrest Kelsey, who is willing to cooperate to reduce his sentence. Ernest can no longer watch his wife suffer and pours the vial of poison into his glass to experience all the same agony as Molly. The next day, White arrests him and takes him to the station, where he makes him stand so that the man is hard up and confesses to everything. Ernest denies any involvement in the crimes, but it turns out that Blackie turned him in for a reduced sentence. In a private dialogue, Ernest realizes that Blackie has said almost nothing, and it is more profitable for him to cooperate with the investigation. Hoping to return to his family, he turns John in, resulting in his arrest. Molly is found barely alive and taken to the hospital, where they are actively engaged in her treatment. Ernest becomes not a suspect, but a valuable witness. William is confident that he can prove his innocence and surrenders, coming to the police station in person. William gives interviews and sends letters to newspapers to build a line of defense and prove his innocence. At the same time, Blackie admits that William asked him to get rid of Ernest, promising a handsome reward. At the first court hearing, the lawyer for the uncle and nephew asks for a private conversation with Ernest, resulting in the trial being postponed to the next day. A little later, Ernest meets Molly and learns that his wife has gotten much better. Going home, he talks to a lawyer and agrees to lie to the last minute, as his uncle promises to help him and avoid imprisonment. Having listened to the lawyer's advice, Ernest changes his testimony and states that the investigators and FBI agents beat him, forcing him to lie and tell lies about his uncle. At the next hearing, Kelsey admits that he shot Anna and Byron was present. Sometime later, Molly and Ernest's youngest daughter passes away due to a serious illness. White informs the prisoner about it, and he feels it very badly. After the funeral, Ernest returns to his cell and declares to his uncle that he will confess to everything and reveal his involvement in the crimes. William tries to dissuade his nephew with threats and requests, but it is useless, as he wants to return to his family. At the next court session, Ernest confesses to everything and testifies against his uncle. After that, he meets his wife and does not admit that he poisoned her. Molly knows the truth and does not forgive her husband for his deceit and betrayal. As a result of all of this, William was sentenced to life in prison, but got out for good behavior and spent the rest of his life in an elderly shelter. The doctors who poisoned Molly were never proven guilty. Byron went to trial, but was released for lack of evidence. Molly divorced her husband and left her native county to marry a second time and live until she was 50 years old, after which the disease overcame her. Ernest was also convicted of a number of crimes and sentenced to life imprisonment. Despite this, he got out early for diligent behavior. After losing his children and wife, who began life without him, Ernest returned to Osage County. He never saw his uncle again, though he did visit his hometown to see friends. As for Ernest himself, he stayed with his brother in a trailer where they lived the rest of their days. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. See you soon.